Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and do some more turkey patterning, and today we've got a really interesting head-to-head to run. These shells have shown good promise so far. We tested them a long while back on the channel. They were pretty terrible, but the brand new versions of them seem to have fixed some of those older quality consistency issues, so we should have a pretty nice performing shell. But we've got two chokes that are from the same manufacturer, but they're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum, so I'm really curious to see which option actually performs better and how each one of them do, because they both could be pretty impressive or neither one of them might work out at all. We really don't know what's going to happen yet. So first up, for the shells we're running, I brought out some more of the Winchester Longbeard XR 20 gauge shells. These are a 20 gauge 3-inch 1 1/4 ounce payload of lead 6s at about 1,000 feet per second. They're typically moving a little faster than that, but of course we have the chrono to see what our actual numbers are. But like I just said, we've done testing with the 20 gauge Longbeards before a number of times. They've always been horrendously inconsistent all over the board. One or two shells out of an entire box typically worked while the rest were terrible, but the brand new ones that have this new box art on them seem to have fixed that inconsistency issue. We've already seen some nice results from these shells both in 5s and 6s, but how are they going to do through today's two choke combos is the big question. Are they going to like a little more constriction, or with them being lead in a 20 gauge, are they going to prefer the much less constriction we have? And as for our setup, I brought out the Stevens 301 20 gauge. It's got a vector red dot on top with a 26-inch barrel. And for our two chokes, we've got these two. Both of these are Patternmaster chokes. We've got your typical Code Black Turkey. It's a 565 constriction, but we also have a Patternmaster Black Mamba. It's a 590 constriction, which is right about your typical full choke range. This is their kind of do-all choke. It's designed for turkey, waterfowl, buckshot, all of that, and it usually does everything pretty well. We have tested the 12 gauge versions of these chokes for turkeys with some very nice results, but we've never tested the 20 gauge one to see what it would do with turkey shells. So 565 versus 590, big difference in choke constriction, but it's a lead 6 and a 20 gauge. They may like the little less choke, so we'll see what happens and which one of these might actually do a little better. Before our test today, we're running everything the same as usual. I've got both targets set up side by side at 40 yards with the chronograph as well to get our velocity. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. We'll take both of our shots and we'll see which choke actually does better. It could legitimately go both ways. We could see good results from both chokes. We could see terrible results from both chokes. They could prefer one or the other. I don't know yet, but let's take some shots and see what we get. Okay, so quick look at our chrono numbers before we look at our targets. We have a boss claim of 1,000 feet per second, although typically we are a decent little bit above that, right around the 1,100 mark typically, and we were seeing just below 1,100 on these two shots. Our 565 Code Black Turkey gave us 1,090, and our Black Mamba 590 gave us 1,071. So high 1,000 feet per second mark, pretty typical for these, but did we see two good patterns down there? Is there one clear winner or not? I don't know yet. Let's head down there and see what we got. All right, well, here we have our two 40-yard targets side by side. We'll get up close looks at them here in just a second. But we see two very nice patterns down here. And I think either one of these is going to come down to whichever style pattern you prefer. We've got one that's a little bit more open, but pretty even. And we got one that definitely looks like it's got a little tighter core to it. So the Code Black Turkey 565 is over there on the left, and the Black Mamba 590 is over there on the right. And that Black Mamba over there on the right did very nicely. Those Black Mamba chokes have just always done well with any decent shell you put through them. Doesn't matter if it's turkey, buckshot, waterfowl, pretty much anything that's not a slug. If it's a decent shell, it's probably going to perform pretty well through that particular lineup of chokes anyway. And surprisingly enough, we see it here with a 20 gauge lead turkey pattern as well. But first up, we'll move to the left here with our Code Black Turkey 565. We absolutely have a dead bird here, no question about it. Nice even spread across that turkey paper, covered his head and neck in pellets, nowhere he can go to and get through there. Just a nice hunting pattern. Might not be as tight as what we have seen from these shells in previous testing, but there's not a whole lot to dislike about that core area there. If you're somebody that likes a little more breathing room while keeping a nice even spread, that's going to be a very very nice pattern for you. Plenty of them through the core, but it's not going to be an absolute baseball at 25 yards either. Now, around the edges, we definitely strung some stuff out there, no question about it. That's not unusual for any lead 6, yet alone a 20 gauge lead pellet as well. So nothing overly surprising there. This is technically probably the tightest choke we've tried the Longbeard 6s through yet in our testing with the new versions of them anyway. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of blow open in the pattern. I don't know that these are going to love going a ton tighter than this and keeping that even spread. I think we may get tighter cores, but we may blow the rest out pretty quickly here. So we'll have to see how these react if we continue testing them through a little bit tighter constrictions as well. But that is a very nice lead pattern for 20 gauge. I would not hesitate to run that. I like how even it is across the turkey target, but it is not an absolute screamer either. It's just a solid middle ground type of pattern. But now we have our Black Mamba 590. It's a lot more open of a constriction, and we actually see a tighter condensed area of shot here. And it did rather well considering what the choke is and what the constriction is. That's a nice pattern for lead and a 20 gauge. I wouldn't hesitate to run that any day of the week either. We absolutely have a dead bird there. There's several through the brain and all the way up and down the spine. That's a pretty nice little ball of shot right there across the top end of that turkey target. Outside of that, we still do throw a couple little flyers here and there, a little bit of splotchy stuff around the edges, but maybe a few less pellets all the way out at the very edges than what we saw with the Code Black Turkey. I think we have a little more condensed of a spread here, and this is probably the better pattern if you prefer a little tighter core area. This might be what you want to go with over the Code Black 565. Either one is going to serve the same purpose. 40 yards and in, and you could probably push both of them to about 45 yards or so and still do the job just fine. But if you like a little tighter pattern, seems like this Black Mamba is the winner, even though it is notably less constriction. Either one of these would certainly work, and it's going to be personal preference. But let's pull the targets down, we'll circle the rest of our pellets and count them, and we'll really see numbers wise what the difference here is. Both of these are going to be very nice performers, and I think it's going to come down to whichever one you are going to prefer more than anything else, because both of them would certainly work. Okay, now we've got our turkey targets down and out of the way, and numbers-wise, these two are about as close as you could ever realistically get. They are almost identical patterns. Maybe the Black Mamba over on the right looks a little bit tighter, and maybe the Code Black over on the left looks a little more even, but these two are so close. I mean, they're interchangeable. Pick whichever lead poisoning that you want to give the turkey and run it. And not many of us probably expected this close of a result from two chokes that are as far apart as these two are. But both of them would make phenomenal turkey combinations for a lead and a 20 gauge. First up, we'll start over here on the left with our Code Black Turkey 565 again. We have a 10 and 20 inch circle drawn there, and you can see how even of a spread through the central area of that pattern we have. Inside of our 10 inch core, we have 118 pellets, no major voids or nothing like that in there. That is certainly 40 yard capable all day long. Outside of that, with our 20 inch leeway ring, we still keep it pretty even, maybe a little thinner towards the bottom right corner than anywhere else, but nothing major. We pick up an additional 85 pellets within there, and it's just a nice hunting spread. You still throw your number of little flyers and stuff around the edge, which we already knew and we're not really too surprised about. This is a lead 6 and a 20 gauge lead 6 at that. Nothing I wouldn't expect to see there, but that is just a nice all-around hunting pattern. I would absolutely run it, no question about it. It would certainly do the job. Although technically, probably still isn't the tightest we have ever gotten from these 20 gauge Longbeard 6s either. But now we move over here to our Black Mamba 590, much more open of a choke, but numbers wise, it is almost identical. Still might look a little bit tighter in the core, but in our 10 inch circle, we have 115 pellets compared to 118 with the 565 Code Black. So we lost 3 pellets technically. Outside of it, with our 20 inch circle, we pick up an additional 87 pellets. That's compared to 85 with the Code Black. So we gained 2 of those pellets back within our 20-inch ring. So we're essentially 1 pellet difference here, numbers-wise, between these two. They are as close to identical as what you could ever ask for. If you took multiple shots back-to-back with each of these, they would definitely be interchangeable. The Black Mamba might win by a few pellets, then the Code Black might win by a few pellets, and vice versa. This pattern might still look a little bit tighter, but we still also have our fair share of little stuff around the edges as well here and there. So these two are so close. Pick whichever one you want and just use it. I really like how that Black Mamba performed though. Even if the numbers say the core isn't technically as hot, we're right there at it. And I think the pattern looks a little more condensed with the Black Mamba. So that might be my choice technically, but hand me either one and I'll be perfectly fine with it. So I think we got to be impressed on how that 590 actually performed. Technically not even a dedicated quote-unquote turkey choke, but it certainly will work and do the job more than adequately. So again, looking at these two side by side, they are so close. The numbers don't lie. Pick whichever one you want. I wouldn't hesitate to run either one of them. I figured we were going to see a pretty nice pattern from at least the Code Black, but the Black Mamba was kind of a little bit of a wild card. We've seen good turkey patterns from it in 12 gauge, but we've never tried it for turkeys in 20 gauge yet. And I mean, we're right there at it too. It's more than capable. So we're going to have to do some more turkey testing with that choke, depending on what you guys might want to see us run through it. Maybe the Longbeard 5s as well could also be a pretty nice performer through it. So you got to give it up for what the Black Mamba was able to do with that open of a constriction and these being a lead 6. But two pretty nice looking results here today. May not be the tightest patterns we've seen from these shells, but they're nice, even, consistent spreads that are gonna take turkeys. If you have your pattern centered up where it needs to be, that turkey is not gonna make it through it. So two very nice results today. And here are the two wads from those shells. You've got your 565 Code Black on the left and your Black Mamba 590 on the right. Maybe a little bit more scraping with the 565 over there on the left than what we saw with the 590, but still these two look very much so typical. Nothing out of the ordinary, no major damage, nothing I'm concerned with, and obviously both of them did their job just fine for us today. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about these two results right here? I don't know if we've ever gotten two patterns that were quite as just interchangeable as these two. We've seen plenty of times where you could run either pattern when we do these head-to-heads and be perfectly fine. That's nothing new, but these two being essentially mathematically 1 pellet apart from each other within our rings there, that's about as close as you could ever really get. I still think the Black Mamba looks a little bit tighter. Maybe it is. Maybe our edges or the flyers are a little bit different, maybe a little deceiving compared to what we saw with the Code Black. That one still looks a little more even. This one still looks a little tighter, but the numbers don't lie. They are essentially the same pattern, right where it counts anyway. So pick whichever one you want. I wouldn't hesitate to run either one of them, and we are definitely going to have to do more testing with that Black Mamba when it comes to turkey patterning. We've seen it perform well in 12 gauge. Now we've seen it in 20 gauge do the same thing. So we're going to have to try some other lead loads and TSS loads and stuff like that through it and see if that trend continues for sure, because that's pretty impressive for what that choke is and the constriction it is with a lead 6 as well. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these 20 gauge Longbeard 6s? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Are either one of these a combo you would actually turkey hunt with? If so, which one of these would you choose? Would you go with the Code Black? That's a nice even pattern. Would you go with the Black Mamba, where you could also use that choke for other purposes as well, buckshot or waterfowl or anything, and get more nice results from it? Leave one choke in the gun almost year round and run it with pretty much anything that isn't a slug anyway? Or would you just run either one of these and be perfectly okay with either one, whichever one you found on the shelf for cheaper or whichever one somebody handed you? And what other combos might you want to see us test when it comes to either one of these chokes, or what other chokes do you want to see us put those Longbeard 6s through? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.